Every year on June 20th, the world pauses to observe World Refugee Day, a moment of reflection, solidarity, and action for millions of displaced people across the globe. In 2025, the theme takes a powerful and pragmatic turn: solidarity through recognition. Spearheaded by UNESCO, this year's focus is not only on standing with refugees, but on recognizing their skills, knowledge, and dignity as a critical path toward inclusion and empowerment. With over 120 million forcibly displaced people worldwide, including more than 43 million refugees, the urgency to shift from temporary aid to long-term solutions has never been greater. This article explores what solidarity through recognition truly means, why it matters, and how education, employment, and social systems can become tools of hope rather than exclusion. Solidarity is a word often heard in humanitarian circles, but too often it remains symbolic, limited to gestures, hashtags, or commemorative events. This year, UNESCO challenges the world to take solidarity further by focusing on recognition of refugees' prior learning, professional credentials, lived experience, and human rights. Why recognition? Because the moment a person flees conflict or persecution, they don't shed their past. They bring with them a wealth of skills, qualifications, and aspirations, often left to languish in the shadows due to bureaucratic, linguistic, or legal barriers. Recognition becomes not only a technical matter of credential validation, but a moral imperative. It says, you are seen, you are valued, you are capable. According to the UNHCR, while 43% of young people around the world access higher education, only 7% of refugees do. The reasons for this gap are, well, pretty complex. Disrupted schooling during conflict or displacement, lack of documentation to prove prior qualifications, limited legal rights in host countries to study or work, language barriers, and of course discrimination or exclusion within host institutions. All of these play a role. And yet, the UN Sustainable Development Goal 4 commits the world to inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning for all. If refugees are to be included in that vision, recognition systems really must be built or reformed with them in mind. To bridge this recognition gap, UNESCO and its partners have launched initiatives like the UNESCO Qualifications Passport, or UQP. This tool helps assess refugees' academic qualifications even when, formal documents are missing. Just imagine a Syrian engineer who had to flee without his degree certificate. Through the UQP, his knowledge, interviews, and past job experience can be evaluated to provide an official recognition document. That document can then be used to apply for jobs, education, or even further assessment. The UQP is already being piloted in Norway, Italy, and Armenia, and it offers a scalable model for countries like India, Kenya, or Colombia, which host large refugee populations. Recognition, therefore, is not just a gesture, it's infrastructure, a lifeline to self-reliance. Popular discourse often, portrays refugees as victims or even worse, threats. But the real story is actually quite different. Across the world, refugees have become doctors, teachers, artists, entrepreneurs, and civic leaders in their host communities, when given the chance. In Uganda, for example, refugees run thriving businesses and pay taxes. In Germany, a Syrian refugee launched a coding school that trains other displaced youth. And in Bangladesh, despite immense barriers, Rohingya women are organizing community health and education programs. When systems recognize what refugees bring, skills, resilience, perspectives, they thrive. And so do their communities. Recognition isn't a grassroots-only issue. Policy, honestly, plays a pivotal role. So here are some steps that governments and institutions can take. First, streamline recognition procedures. That means creating alternative pathways to validate qualifications, like interviews, practical exams, or even provisional licenses when documents are missing. Next, invest in language and bridging programs by offering courses that help refugees meet local professional or educational requirements. Then, empower academic institutions by funding universities and credential evaluators to create flexible programs for displaced learners. Another step is to align with global frameworks, like adopting instruments such as the Lisbon Recognition Convention, or collaborating with the Global Convention on the Recognition of Qualifications to ensure mobility. And finally, promote legal access by ensuring that refugee status includes the right to work and study legally, with protection from discrimination. India is not a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention, but it does have a long history of hosting refugees, from Tibet, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Myanmar. Indian universities, employers, and civil society groups can actually play a transformative role by creating scholarship programs for refugee students, recognizing regional qualifications, especially from neighboring countries, offering online credentialing or micro-credentials through Indian edtech platforms, and partnering with UNHCR India to align efforts with humanitarian goals. States like Delhi, Tamil Nadu, or Bihar, where refugees often settle, can, become models of inclusive development. Consider Amina, a nurse from Sudan who fled to Italy. Without her documents, she could not practice. But through a pilot UQP project, her skills were recognized, and after a short bridging course, she now works in a hospital, or Nawaz, an Afghan teacher in Pakistan. Through a collaboration between a local NGO and a credential evaluator, he was able to restart his career and teach children in a refugee school, restoring not only his livelihood but his dignity. Their stories are not exceptional, they are possible when systems see potential, not paper. This year, UNESCO's World Refugee Day event is a free international webinar on June 20th from 3 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. CET, titled Solidarity Through Recognition. The webinar brings together policymakers shaping refugee recognition laws, refugee learners and professionals sharing their journeys, academics and employers offering insights into scalable solutions, and UN agencies and regional leaders collaborating across borders. It's not just a conversation, it's a movement, and everyone is invited to join, learn, and act. As an individual, you can attend the UNESCO webinar and share what you learn. You can use your social media to highlight refugee stories using the hashtag Solidarity Through Recognition. You could volunteer or donate to organizations that help refugees access education and jobs. As a teacher or school, you might incorporate refugee perspectives into your curriculum, support refugee students with language and counseling services, and encourage school-wide campaigns around World Refugee Day. And as an employer, you can recognize foreign qualifications, offer internships, apprenticeships, or remote roles to displaced professionals, and train your HR staff on inclusive hiring. Recognition is the bridge between exile and belonging. This World Refugee Day, let's build that bridge, not with rhetoric, but with policy, programs, and people-centered action. Let's ensure that no refugee is forced to start over as a stranger in their field or in their community. Let's make solidarity practical. To stand with refugees in 2025 is to say, with conviction, we see you, we value you, and we welcome all that you bring.